Kia ora koutou, good afternoon everybody, and welcome to this presentation from the University of Canterbury, New Nelson Initiative. My name is David Small. I'm a Senior Lecturer in the School of Educational Studies and Leadership, and I've just come here to introduce you to this new plan that we've got to extend some of our course offerings and qualifications to people in Nelson. I'll say a little bit about this, and then I'll invite Doug, who's from philosophy and also coordinator of Arts at a Distance program, to speak a bit more about the program as well. I made some notes here because academic staff are kind of hardwired to just go for 50 minutes, and I don't want to do that to you, so this will make sure that I don't. So what I thought I'd do is to say a few words about arts in general, and then something about this program, and then something about the education courses that are being offered as part of it. And then Doug will talk more about the Arts at a Distance program and the philosophy courses. First of all, good on you for coming here and being interested in the arts. The arts being broadly the social sciences and humanities. It's in my view, a wise move to look to study in these areas, and it's also a move that you're not really supposed to make these days. A year ago, almost to the day, the British Minister of Education, or Secretary of Education, whatever they're called over there, warned school leavers against doing arts. She reckoned that teenagers would have their options closed down by studying the arts, and they should focus instead on STEM subjects. STEM is S-T-E-M, this is the acronym for science, technology, engineering, mathematics. These are the useful subjects that enable you to do things and open doors in ways that arts don't.
And I don't think I would be a STEM grad,
No.
I'm still here.
And then a few months ago, the Japanese government wrote to all public universities in Japan telling them to downsize or close their programs in the arts and instead focus on useful subjects that would be useful for society. And the New Zealand government had also shown its colours in here. I mean, when they provided extra funding assistance to the University of Canterbury after the earthquake, a whole heap of that money was again tagged to these important subjects like science and engineering and technology and so on. So I think your view of arts and of the value of arts really depends on your view of society and your view of learning and your view of what's good for society. And I thought I'd just think of a few examples of things that we know about and questions and challenges that are presenting us. I mean, we know, for example, that the world produces enough food to easily feed all the people who live on the planet. We also know that a large proportion of humanity doesn't have access to enough food and water. So we have the technical ability to do this, but we don't have the social policies or economic policies or political will to make it happen. We know that the very survival of this planet is being threatened by global warming, but how we build the political will and the means to avoid this catastrophe is a long way from being resolved. We know that unequal societies score worse on almost every measure of human well-being than more equal societies, that it's inequality that is associated with this, whether we're talking about rates of suicide or drug abuse or teen pregnancies or domestic violence. All of these sort of bad measures of society are worse in societies that are more unequal than they are in societies that are more equal. But yet we still allow policies to be pursued that we know are generating greater inequalities. So these are some of the pressing problems of our time, and they're problems that require social, political, cultural, human solutions. And these are the sorts of problems that confront those engaged in the study of the arts. So despite the views of those who think the arts are not very useful, I'm sure you would agree that it would be pretty useful to people if those sorts of issues were solved and those sorts of issues are smack bang in the area of arts. There aren't scientific solutions to those problems. They are important social, human solutions that are required. So, for the well-being of your fellow citizens of the society and the country and the planet, it's good for you to do arts. It's good for people to study arts, but it's also good for you yourselves to study arts as well. How will it be good for you? Well, it's a bit hard to know, because everybody who studies the arts is impacted by their study in quite different ways. But the one thing I can say is that you will be transformed. Studying the arts is, by its very nature, transformative of the way that you view the world, and you'll be transformed in ways that neither you nor I nor anybody else could possibly predict in advance. And that's one of the exciting things about it, that study in this area broadens horizons, broadens perspectives, and puts you in touch with exciting and intellectually liberating ideas. The aim of the arts was recently described in the following terms: the task of the arts and humanities, both in their creative and educative aspects, is to contest, to challenge, to question, to undermine, to satirise, to offend, to violate, to deconstruct, to degenerate, to critique, to undo, or to suspend dominant and dominating assumptions. You can't engage in that sort of activity without yourself being engaged in the process. So rather than close off options, as the British Minister of Education asserted, I would say that studying the arts does quite the reverse. It opens up all sorts of possibilities. So the program that we're offering here is a chance for you to do that through the University of Canterbury while still living here in Nelson. And what we've got is a package of courses that are run from Canterbury, but we're offering people here. There will be a group here who will be doing these courses, and what you get is, if you take these courses, is you get online lectures delivered, although we will from time to time come to Nelson and deliver the lectures here live to Nelson people, so that other people in Christchurch and other places will be on the receiving end of what you are and just see it on their computers. We also have online tutorial programs run through a program called Adobe Connect. You only need a web browser to get onto it, and there's interactive, real-time conversation with the lecturers and the tutors and other students involved in this course. And also in Nelson, we have special study support and tutorial support. Ian, who's here, is our Nelson-based person. This is our Nelson-based premises, and so we're offering that extra additional support for people who offer it here as well. So the package that we're offering is a certificate in arts. This is an entry-level qualification. Don't need any prerequisites to get into it. Either UE or being over 20 is enough to get in. The courses assume no knowledge, no prior knowledge, just being able to read and write and think critically is all that's required. And what we've got is we've got a block of 6 subjects, and these 6 subjects would qualify you for the award of a certificate in art. So that's a qualification that you can complete and leave and have that. Or they would also count towards a BA. At the moment we can't offer an entire Bachelor of Arts program by distance, but we can probably offer half to 2/3 of it by the time that you might be progressing next year. And we could actually offer an entire full-time BA program for you here this year if you wanted to do more than just the certificate of arts. So as I said, we've got a package that we're really pleased to present. I think that fits really well together with 3 education courses and 3 philosophy courses. So I'll just say a little bit now about the 3 education courses. The study of education that we're doing here is not study that is preparing you to be a teacher. If you want to do a qualification that then equips you and qualifies you to be a registered teacher and work as a teacher in New Zealand, then we do have that as well. We have the Bachelor of Teaching and Learning program, and we do have a sizable cohort in Nelson who participate in that. But in the broader study of education, we're looking at the broader analysis of, broader study of education as part of a Bachelor of Arts degree. And to illustrate what we're talking about, we've got these three courses. So the first course is called Child and Adolescent Development. And this looks at issues about what people are like at various stages in their lives, particular childhood and adolescence, how they change, how do they develop, what are they capable of doing at various stages in their development. That looks at areas of physical development, of cognitive development, emotional development, social development. So there's quite a strong psychological emphasis on that. And that's a sort of gateway to a number of other courses that are available further along in stage 2 and stage 3 education in that educational support, the educational psychology area. The second course is called Education, Culture and Society, and that looks at the role that education plays in society. So just to give you an example, we're talking about that, we're saying, well, what do education systems do in society? What role do they play? So one of the theories about this is that education systems tend to reproduce and legitimise social inequalities. So the people who hold this view argue that education reproduces inequalities, because what we find is that people from certain backgrounds, certain categories of people, whether by ethnicity or gender or social class or other factors, for example, tend to do better in education, tend to get better outcomes, tend to get better grades, even where measures of intelligence are the same. And so this is why they say that education is actually reproducing some of these inequalities. And they say it's legitimising these inequalities because what we have is we have this selection process that has an appearance of fairness. It has an appearance of fairness because we have open public schools, because you've got people sitting in the same schools, in the same classrooms, and the same teachers, and so it looks as though everybody has equal fair opportunities. But still we find that these inequalities persist. But the school looks as though it's giving everybody an equal opportunity. And so that's why these reproduction theorists argue that the school not only reproduces those inequalities, but legitimises them, makes it look like things are fair when the schools are actually favouring some people over others. And the third course we have is called Learning, about education. And this course is designed to kind of integrate these two approaches to education into a course. So it brings together the more sort of sociological side and the more psychological side of the study of education with a focus on the issue of learning. Because learning is a central part to all understanding about education. So that course looks at questions about what we know about learning. How do people learn? Do people have different learning styles, for example? Spoiler alert here that there's these theories going around from sort of back of Weet-Bix packets that there's these three set learning styles: visual, auditory and kinesthetic. And everybody gets slotted into one, and the visual people you show pictures to, and the auditory ones you talk to, and the kinesthetic ones you get them to do it, which is sort of something that so many people know about learning, which isn't even true. But in this course we look at a whole lot of those different theories about learning. Some things we know, some things we don't know. And that's the interesting thing about learning, trying to figure out what it is that goes on with people as individuals and humans, and how it is that we learn. So that's an interesting course that brings those two sort of sociological and psychological sides together. So they're the three education courses, and then Doug will talk to you about the broad program and about the philosophy courses.
Okay.